How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to, Fruit of Grisaia. I don't know why my brain just immediately ejected the name of the game. It's fine. It's literally on my screen. I don't know what's up with that. Whatever. We're going into it. So, we're here, and it's funny because I have to change gears a lot because I've been trying to, it's not been frantic, but I've been playing a lot in the background. I've even been posting about it on the Discord, like memes or a few screenshots. Just kind of progressing my way through the rest while, trying to make sure I'll be finished with it all by the time I get to the end of the Sachi route. And it's been fun. Memorable, that's for sure. Ooh, boy. But I'm really excited to see how we're going to help Sachi because I'm super invested now and I want her to succeed-ish. Technically, I'm worried she's going to try and destroy the school. But I feel like that's kind of what Yuuji's plan is, too. Because Yuuji's obviously setting stuff up. He brought in a bunch of fertilizer. And he talked about how, letting her fail while also succeeding. And he said, I'll guarantee to make sure that, you can succeed. So part of me's wondering if he's going to let her do her best. And it's not going to work. And she's going to have a kind of breakdown. And then he's going to succeed for her. Through some bomb. And then we're going to fly off into the sunset kind of thing. Which, that's just my prediction. That's what my guess is. That'd be a bit extreme, but it's Yuuji we're talking about. So, not beyond the realm of possibility. So, I guess we'll just have to see how this all plays out. Alright, Sachi, how you doing? From the school hallway, I notice a single light still on the dormitory, and when I quietly look inside a few minutes later, I find Sachi crouched intently over her desk. She must have been up all night working. Her normally neat desk is cluttered with books, magazines, papers, everything from documents concerning modern architecture techniques to yellowed old newspaper clippings. She's just doing her research. Probably because she's confidently declared I should leave everything to her, Sachi's consciously trying not to show any signs of struggle. But in reality, she's practically at her wit's end. Precisely because of her own thoroughness and intelligence, the faults in every new plan must present themselves with frustrating speed. There's just no easy answers to this challenge. With a silent shout of encouragement, I ease the door shut and quietly leave Sachi's room behind. Interesting. A silent shout of encouragement. What on earth is this plan gonna be?
この学園には幽霊がいるわ。
Pleasant morning. The first relatively cold day after what felt like weeks of brutal heat wave headlining in the newspapers. After gathering us in the dorm lobby, Michiru delivers this abrupt announcement.
緊急招集というからどれだけ重要な用事かと思えばくだらない。強がってる割には足震えてっけどな。
Oh, right, Yumiko is not a fan of ghosts.
ねえ、みちる。夏もそろそろ終わりだし、そんな中でもみんなを盛り上げたいっていうあんたの芸人根性はわかるけどさ、怖い話で涼しくなるっていうには少し遅すぎない？
I don't think that ever works. If anything, I feel like the only reason why chilling stories are chilly is because they make you sweat. But why would you want to make yourself sweat more in the heat?
全然違うわよ。っていうか芸人って言うな。本当にいるのよ、幽霊が。じゃあ、見たの?
Oh, by the way, so it's not really relevant to me, but I follow social medias and stuff, and there was a really interesting announcement this past week so there's the Muv-Luv mobile game, which, of all the Muv-Luv spin-off stuff, of course, the mobile gacha game is the one that's doing well, or at least doing reasonably well. But they just announced a collaboration with the Fruit of Grisaia. So, they have Fruit of Grisaia characters in a mobile Muv-Luv game. And the biggest connection is Abade being voice acted by the same person, the same talent who did Subika in the visual novel for Muv-Luv, which is really interesting. But apparently, there's a little bit of, kind of ironic drama. I don't think it's, super drama, but, someone's pointing out, it's weird that they replaced the voice actor for Sumika in the game, probably using the voice actor they used for the anime, and then brought on the original voice actor for Sumika for the collaboration with the Fruit of Grisaia, which is it's really weird, if you think about it that way, but otherwise it's interesting. I'm not sure how they're supposed to, come up with this. The one thing about when it comes to these gacha games, I'm I have been playing like the Fate Grand Order one because I love that. I love all Fate stuff. All of it's fantastic, really. Well, okay, I'm sure it's not all fantastic, but I've enjoyed a lot of it. I love the world building and everything. And Fate Grand Order, it's a goofy game, and it can feel shoehorned at times, but at least they have a fairly reasonable explanation, like in universe, for why you're seeing so many of these like servants and all these faces. And even they've had a few collaboration events, but it seems to me so far that the collaborations that Fate Grand Order had were more about like, oh, bringing on like voice talent, art talent from like other projects and kind of letting them have their own unique take or perspective or design for characters, which I think is really cool because it lets it all kind of continue in the lore, but brings in these guests that are recognizable and lets it be really fun. Having a Muv-Luv Dimensions that's literally bringing not just like people from the various dimensions of Muv-Luv, but are now like doing collaborations and bringing people from other visual novels in. That's interesting. Interesting choice. And then what is it, the other one? There's like Star Rail, I think, is doing a Fate, like a Unlimited Blade Works collaboration. Like, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Is it Star Rail? Yeah, I think it's the Star Rail game, not the Genshin game, which might make a little more sense in some ways. I don't know. It's weird. Why are gacha games weird? Anyway, sorry. Just thought I'd mention it because it's kind of a relevant thing. So if you're watching this in the far future and you're like, what are you talking about? I don't know, man. I'm just here. I'm vibing. Okay, so you saw the ghost. I'm guessing it's Yuuji. Oh, this sounds like quite the interesting tale. Alright then, how did you happen to meet this ghost of yours, Michiru?
あれはまだセミが熱中症になりかねない暑さが続いた日のことよ。
So it was so hot you might have been literally having yourself a heat stroke and probably not seeing things.
私はその日、エアコンの設定温度を19度に設定したまま眠っちゃって、体を温めるために中庭を散歩していたの。
Why was your AC at 65 degrees? Do you know how expensive that would be? Good grief. Hey, they must have some insane air conditioning systems in this school because, like, we've got air conditioning, and when and they're talking Fahrenheit temperatures clearly, because 65 degrees Celsius would mean literal death. But if you're going on Fahrenheit, we would have like the heat waves coming in when in the 90s, even like touching on the hundreds. But we have a lot of humidity too, so it's like not just like, oh, it's hot. It's like, oh, it's hot and humid, which is just a wombo combo. And our AC, working full-time, full blast, couldn't keep up. It did good. Like, it was nice to have a place that, like, when it's outside in like 98 degrees, where we could go inside and have it be 82 degrees. But it was trying to get down to 78 degrees because that's like where we try to keep it in the summer. And it's like it was struggling. And so imagining that they're in a heat wave and somehow have the AC in her room hitting 65 degrees, that's crazy. That must be a great AC and really good insulated building. Anyway.
暑さをしのぐためのエアコンなのに本末転倒な話ね。そしたらすぐにまた暑くなってきて自分の部屋に戻ろうとしたのよ。
Michiru.
ああ、そう。そしてちょうど学園長室のそばを通った時、突然ギュインギュイーンってチェーンソーを動かしてるような音が聞こえてきたのよ。もちろん最初は何かの聞き間違いだと思ったわ。でもその音は間隔を空けて何度も聞こえてくるのよ。
Chainsaw. I don't think it's a chainsaw. Maybe it was like a reciprocating saw, a bandsaw?
そしてそんなギュインギュインがピタッと聞こえなくなったと思ったら明かりのついてない真っ暗な廊下をふっと黒い人影が横切ったの。
Yumiko's like, ah!
音があったのよ。
I see. The ghost Michiru encountered was definitely me, but her superstitious explanation of these events is pretty convenient.
なんだ、見たって言うから期待してたのに、ただの影じゃん。それはきっとチルチルが見た夢なのよ。 レム睡眠中で覚醒していた脳が幻を見せただけなのよさ。
You'd sure know a lot about that, wouldn't you, Makina?
はあ、あんたには夢ってもんがないわね。
チルチルと違って現実見てるからな。
That's a way to put it.
それはどういう意味かな。なるほど。話はだいたい理解したわ。あれ、榊さんってこういう話苦手なのに意外な反応。
Well, it's not like, to be fair, it's not like Michiru delivered it spectacularly spooky way. She mostly was just telling a story. And even then, she did have a reaction.
別に苦手というわけではないけれど、その幽霊はきっと無害ね。無害ってなんでそんなことがわかるのよ。
Uh-oh.
そうね。言ってみればその幽霊とはちょっとした知り合いなのよ。
Okay.
ユミコ、あんたあんまり友達いなさそうだと思ったら、そっち方面のお友達はたくさんいたの？
To be fair, if anybody here is going to be, having dalliances with undead figures, it would be Yumiko. I mean, think about Baldur's Gate and Asterion. She clearly would absolutely be all over Asterion in that game. If she existed at the same time as Baldur's Gate 3, she'd be playing it all the time. And it would always be a romance with Asterion every game.
ユミちゃんモテそうだもんな、お化けに。
Okay, cool. Ghoul school.
少し誤解を招いてしまったみたいだけれど、無害だというのは本当よ。ねえ、風見くん。
Hey!
そこでユージ？
Because she's figured out its real identity. Yeah, I'm familiar with that spirit as well. From what the principal tells me, it's one of those friendly ghosts. Seems it won't cause any trouble unless we go out of our way to provoke it.
そっか、ユージも言うんならきっと本当なのね。これで安心して眠れるわよ。
Oh, that's. I'm glad that your sleep is. Although that also implies that you haven't been sleeping well since that event, right? So you've just been dealing with this for weeks?
よかったな、チルチル。これで夜サッチンにトイレについてきてもらわなくても大丈夫なのよさ。
そんなことで呼ばないわよ。部屋にトイレついてるし。
Oh, that's nice.
ってサチで思い出したけど、あの子最近部屋にこもることが多くなってきたわよね。今日だって本当はサチにも聞いてほしかったのに、ユージが今はそっとしておいてやれって言うから。
Yeah, she's in a bit of her, she's kind of working things out. Yeah, she's right in the middle of planning out how to get rid of the test for you. Needs some time to think.
それはわかってるけど、本当に大丈夫なの？
No, I don't think she's okay, but she's progressing in a positive way, more or less, and it's probably better just to let her work it out. If we try to tell her to stop, I don't think it'll do any good.
これまでいろんなことをサチに頼んだけど、あの子がこんなに必死になったことなんてなかったわよ。
Yeah, well, you did ask her for a doozy.
そういえばそうなのよさ。サッチンは何をやらせても涼しい顔でやっちゃうってのが美徳だったのに。
Well, like anyone providing a service, there's a bit of a limit to it. You can't force on a smile for everything.
それだけ今回の依頼が難しい案件だということでしょ？私も自分なりに方法を考えてみたけど、全然浮かばなかったしね。
Four gazes settle on me, silently requesting a comment from the person who volunteered to undertake Michiru's request. It's fine. Yeah, Sachi's definitely got some tunnel vision right now. But that's just because she's seriously concentrating on this request. It's not like she's completely oblivious to the world around her.
じゃあ心配いらないの？
I mean, I think there's warrants some worry because, we care about her as a friend, but I feel like it's not a dire situation. We don't likely have to directly intervene, at least you don't. That's right. She isn't missing any meals. She still stops by my room every day.
まあ、一番一緒にいる彼氏がそう言うなら信じるけど、やっぱり心配は心配よね。
I mean, I get that. Not surprising, as in the end of summer vacation approaches, Sachi's been spending more and more time shut up in her room. Fortunately, the girl does seem to regard maintaining her physical health as one of her responsibilities. I'm pretty sure she's getting at least the minimum necessary nutrition and rest, but... Alright, since you're also concerned, I'll go check up on her in a little while.
そうね。そうしてもらえると安心できるかも。
サッチンに何かあったらすぐに知らせてほしいのよ。
Yeah, despite the fact that you've been absolutely using her, like, request-a-thon pretty abusively, frankly, I'm sure most people would, and then on the same time, it's very clear you care, so that's appreciated. Appreciated? What am I... I'm just making up words. That's the worst. That's one of the, like, the biggest, like, criticisms I get. I tend to be the dungeon master / game master with my group of friends. We do a lot of tabletop RPGs online. Actually managed to complete a D&D campaign over the course of 3 years, going from level 1 to level 20. So from baby characters to full-blown saving the world. It was very, very fun. And but especially because I do so much thinking on my feet and trying to adapt and describe things that I can't necessarily prepare for. You know, you have to kind of play to the whims of the characters. Obviously, I try to structure out stuff, and usually we got going in the proper direction most of the time. But you always need to make sure you're aware for that. And one of the downsides is while I can be quick to respond and can contemplate and write scenarios and dialogue on the fly, I often can struggle when I try to make things sound descriptive or try to speak in a different way, and I sometimes inadvertently invent new words, trying to say one word or another word and then smushing them together in a conglomeration, which I'm sure has happened many times in the channel because A, it's the same me, I do the same thing all the time, but it happens a lot more in D&D / well, I'm phased to Pathfinder. I find that Pathfinder 2nd edition is much more enjoyable. Anyway, enough about that. I'm just gonna be just random divergence apparently today. Right, got it. Hey, Sachi. Well then. After cleaning the courtyard in Sachi's stead, I make my way over to her room and pause outside the door. Lately, Sachi hasn't been responding to knocks or even shouts from outside. It's become a matter of course to barge into her room first and say hello second. I'm coming in. When I enter the room, I'm struck with a powerful sense of deja vu. It's like I'm watching a recording of yesterday or the day before that. Even from behind, I can tell Sachi's glaring down at her desk with an intense focus. Thick reference books, piles of papers lie in a messy heap across its surface. Seems like she's also been doing a little research on the computers in the school building itself, but for the last few days, the vast majority of her time has been spent working alone in her room. Oblivious to my approach, Sachi silently continues to move her eyes across the pages. Sachi? No reaction. Not that I've been particularly hopeful. Hey, Sachi.
Yu-kun.
I finally succeeded in catching Sachi's attention by shaking her shoulder as I speak. Letting her book fall close, she calmly turns her chair to face me. All this is the standard part of the new normal, but today I seem to have caught Sachi somewhat off her guard. For a moment, I could see a deep exhaustion in her face.
私の顔に何かついていますでしょうか?
No, can't say as there is. But Michiru and the others are worried, so I promise to check up on you.
そうですか。私、皆さんにご心配を。
No, it's not that. You're not causing them concern. They are concerned. It's like she's trying to like pin the blame for it on herself, and you can kind of justify that. But that's the thing. It's like they care. I think they care whether you're doing good or doing poorly. They just care. Well, your top priority at the moment is fulfilling Michiru's request. I guess you don't have much choice but to slightly neglect the rest for the time being.
そうですね。一度約束したことは絶対守らなければいけません。嘘をつくのは悪い子ですから。
Yeah. I really hope we can get you out of this. Only bad girls tell lies. If Sachi truly believes that, there's a question I need to ask her at this point. Sachi, mind if I ask you something?
はい、なんでしょう。
You told me I could leave this job to you. Is that still true?
はい、私一人で大丈夫です。
I avoided asking outright whether she's found a method to get rid of the test, hoping to lead her gently toward revealing the truth, but Sachi answers my question without a moment's hesitation. That a fact?
はい、学力テストの日までには必ず依頼を達成してみせます。
That's almost scary, actually. Like, she clearly doesn't have a functional plan at the minute, but she's so convicted. As she speaks, Sachi intently returns my gaze. I've seen eyes like these before. There's none of Sachi's familiar spark of confidence, none of her composed determination. These are the eyes of a human being driven into a corner, knowing that all roads lie closed to them, still unable to accept their approaching ruin, blindly clinging to the impossible vision of the future. Sachi's eyes are clouded with a narcotic haze of denial. Well, this removes all doubt.
何がはっきりしたんですか？
Nothing. Just talking to myself.
そうですか。
A slightly disconcerted expression flashes across Sachi's face, but soon enough she regained control of her features. A lot more of her internal thoughts are bleeding through. That's a good sign. But it sucks because it's like the type of growth that Sachi's gonna go through is very painful kind of growth. It's the slap across the face. It's the sudden confrontation, and it's painful. But sometimes they're the most pivotal moments in a person's life, and that's really important. I imagine a lot of you, if not all of you, can recall a time where you essentially had the proverbial, like, someone grab your shoulders and shake you violently to be like snap out of it, or get a grip on yourself, or you need to realize that this can't work. Like, whether it's by another person or by ourselves, I feel like all of us eventually go through at least one instance of just earth-shattering, denial-crushing acceptance. Usually sparked by an outside source, at least in my experience, but ultimately, we all kind of have to have our delusions destroyed. In that case, I'll leave it up to your hands, but if something comes up, say the word and I'll help anytime.
はい、ゆうくんにそう言っていただけると心強いです。
I feel like she just has no intention of even asking. After ruffling Sachi's hair for a moment, I quietly leave the room. If Sachi had admitted her dilemma and turned to me for help, events would probably have taken a complete 180 from their current course. And in doing so, I think the answer to my problem would soon have been revealed to her. But instead, Sachi brushes my offer aside and hid her struggle from me. Even to the point of lying, violating her own absolute standard for goodness. Good point. Unfortunately, it seems like my preparations won't have been in vain. Dang, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that. She's willing to lie to him. Thought I heard something. There's like a whining, high-pitched whining sound. I'm wondering if that's like the game. Because I thought I was like in the house for a second. I was like, is there like a fire alarm going off? But no, I don't think that's what it is. I feel like it might be something in the game. Maybe there's an audio glitch because it didn't sound normal. That was weird. Anyway, I think, yeah, that's a good point. The fact that she's violating her own rules in order to maintain this facade, like, why? Why is it so important to her that she not accept help? August 31st, right before September. When someone asks you for a symbol of summer, plenty of things probably come to mind. Cicadas, watermelon, the beach, fireworks, shaved ice. Anyone can make a pretty decent list out of just the obvious standards. We've all experienced every one of these at some point. But for students in particular, one of the more memorable aspects of the summer experience arrives only at its very end.
よりにもよってなんでこんな日に。神様はさあ夏休み最後の日を楽しみなさいって言ってるような天気のいい日にどうして私は勉強しないといけないのよ。
それはあんたが全然宿題やってなかったからでしょうが。
Yeah.
だって わからない宿題があったらいつもはサチがやってくれてたし。
Michiru. Gosh darn it, girl.
呆れた。あなた、1学年下の小峰さんに宿題を手伝ってもらっていたの？
だってサチが「よろしければ私が」って言ってくれるから。
で、思わずその行為に甘えてしまったと。
She's like, yeah.
きっとチルチルはあれな、サッチンみたいなできる人と結婚したらダメ人間になってしまうのよさ。
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, you marry someone who's got their stuff together, you're just gonna turn into this big lump on the couch.
ダメ人間って。
それはツンともせずデレもせず、だらしなく伸びた金髪を揺らして歩く。
Oh my
見
gosh.
た目もそう、ジルジルって感じなのよ。
やめて、私の未来をリアルに予測しないで。
ぐふふ、ぐふふふ。
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't think this will make a great thumbnail, but this is just, you know, it encapsulates so much of their relationship right here. Poor Michiru. Michiru's got it tough on her own, right?
風見くん、ちょっといいかしら。
As I watch Michiru thrash about, her beloved twin tail swinging from side to side with all the kinetic energy of a traditional Chinese lion dance. Oh, what a great description. Sakaki sidles up and requests my attention. What, you haven't finished your homework either, Sakaki?
ついてきて。
Uh-huh. Not dignifying my attempt at humor with a response, Sakaki pivots on her heel and begins to walk. I follow obediently.
ひとまずはここでいいわ。
After briskly making her way up the stairs to the third floor, Sakaki stops abruptly and turns back to face me. So, why bring me all the way up here? Planning to confess your love or something?
ずいぶん余裕があるみたいだけれど、賞賛はあるの？
Ah, so that's what this is about.
ええ。あなたたちが受けた依頼は、休み明けにあるテストをなくすこと。
It means the deadline's tonight, technically.
だとしたら、残り時間はもうほとんどない。明日になって授業が始まれば、さらに手を出しにくくなるはずでしょ？
Absolutely right on all counts, Sakaki.
ならこの状況で、小峰さんはどうやってあの依頼を達成するというの？
You'll find out soon enough.
あなたはいつまでそうやって答えをごまかすつもりなの？
Well, it depends. Such a cynic, not even being evasive this time.
それはどういう意味？
It means that Sachi's going to make her move today. On that note, I need your help with something, Sakaki.
手伝ってもらいたい。
I need you to quietly evacuate the entire building. Yeah, first of all, take these. I reach into my breast pocket, retrieve the tickets I prepared beforehand, and hold them out for Sakaki to accept.
これは
A complimentary helicopter ride ticket, 4 of them, to be exact. See Mishima Cave's beautiful night scenery spread up below you and all that.
これはあなたの方をビンタしてもいい合図として受け取ればいいのかしら？
Okay. No, I'm perfectly serious.
じゃあこのチケットがあの依頼にどう関係しているのか説明してちょうだい。
No, it's about safety. I think it's just I just need to make sure you're not in the building. We already talked about the possibility of danger, remember? Those tickets have a great deal to do with that.
つまりこのチケットは私たちへの配慮だと？
Yeah, it's a win-win. You won't face any unfounded suspicion, and it'll be easier for us to act.
なるほど。あなたの言いたいことは分かったわ。
Glad to hear it.
でも、その説明で私が納得するとでも？
You should. Because if I'm right, if my guess is correct, and we're literally gonna crater the place, you don't want to know, because the more you know, well, first of all, I imagine you try and stop us. And secondly, it also could implicate you, even passively. Like, it's really better if you don't know what's gonna happen, Yumiko. Pretty much, yeah. Did you promise to help me out? And I trust you, Sakaki. Aww.
相変わらずずるい言い方だわ。
No, he's pretty good about that. Mumbling in a sulky tone of voice, Sakaki quietly slides the tickets into her pocket. Thanks, I owe you one.
別に恩が売りたいわけではないけれど、このチケットで私は何をすればいいのかしら？
Nothing special. Go enjoy the view. Just make sure you get the others to come along.
たったそれだけなの？
Over the last few months, I've learned all too well that corralling that group is never an easy task.
なるほど。確かにそうかもしれないわね。
I mean, this shouldn't be too difficult, but then again, something always happens. I'm counting on you to take care of them.
ええ。すべてが終わったら、じっくり話を聞かせてもらうことにするわ。
About that. We might need to flee the country. Cutting off the conversation, Sakaki turns to leave the room. Before you go, I want to apologize. Sorry, Sakaki.
これはどういう風の吹き回し？すべてを話せないことに対するお詫びのつもりなのかしら？
You'll understand that soon enough as well. We're absolutely, like, it's gonna be a smoking crater, that's all. My wisecracks go over like a lead balloon, and in the end, Sakaki stalks off down the stairs in an even worse mood than before. Sorry for the hassle, Sakaki.
ただいまー。
ただいまーなのよさ。
Just as I'm leaving my room, I hear Amane and Makina returning through the front door. That's a lot of bags. Shopping expedition, I assume?
そうなんだけど、ちょっとおかしなことがあったのよね。
Oh? How so?
いつもみたいにアマネーがお色気を振りまきながら商店街で買い物してたら
Makina, please.
みんながアマネちゃんやマキボウも大変だねって言いながらいろいろおまけしてくれたのよさ。
Okay. That is a little weird.
でも、私たちには何の心当たりもないから、得した反面、ちょっと悪い気がしちゃってさ。
Wait. So if Yuji's planning and coordinating everything, remember he asked for like JB's help and like the principal's help? What if he's already pre-front loaded this by saying that the school's like planning like a demolition? So everyone in town's heard like, oh yeah, they're going to like demolish the school. And so everyone in town's like, oh, it sucks, right? You guys are gonna be leaving. The school's gonna be gone. And like they have no clue what's going on. I see.
ユージは何か心当たりあったりする？
You didn't ask? Nothing comes to mind. Maybe they just decided to show some appreciation for your constant patronage.
だといいんだけどね。
Not entirely convinced, Amane wanders slowly up the stairs to the second floor with her head tilted slightly in puzzlement.
ねえお兄ちゃん、今日サッチン見た？
Come to think of it, no, she hasn't been around.
もうお兄ちゃんが見てないって言うなら買い物にでも行ってるのかもしれないのよさ。
Maybe we should track her down. That's a possibility, yeah.
じゃあもしサッチンを見かけたら私が探してたって伝えてほしいのよ。
Got it. I'll pass that on.
ありがとう。じゃあ私はアマネーの手伝いをしてくるのよさ。
By snatching half-cooked food off the plate when her back's turned?
失礼な。それは少しだけなのよさ。
Alright. Pretty indignant, considering she's not even denying it. Not bothering to offer a verbal retort, I watch Makina trot energetically up the stairs toward Amane's room. Assuming she's going to act today, Sachi might already have begun to make her preparations. Sakaki successfully coaxed the others out. The dorm lies silent and deserted. Along the roof, I gaze blankly out at the sinking sun. I'm sure the others have questions about all this sudden event and why Sachi and I weren't coming along, but none of them got to me. Guess Sakaki was thoughtful enough to take care of that. Not long till nightfall. I'm not particularly fond of the night. To be honest, you could say I actively dislike it. Night is a deep and hostile blackness that swallows us whole. A darkness so absolute, it feels like the premonition of death. It makes us remember things we'd rather forget, images we've tried to erase from our memories. It shows us with gut-wrenching clarity just how weak and powerless we really are. I prefer the dark, the night. I imagine in his line of work you would hate it, but I've always loved stargazing, and you know, I was hoping to get a job in the field of, you know, looking at and being able to have a respect for the stars. And I still have a real passion for them. So for me, I find the nighttime comforting. But again, I don't have to fight for my life. If I were in dangerous situations, I imagine nighttime would be the most terrifying time. Especially because we want to sleep, making us vulnerable. Of course, I'm aware that the same doesn't apply for everyone, but since that day, that's when the night has been for me. Even at a time like this, let down my guard for a minute and I start shaking like an idiot. And tonight, there's more of it than old traumas. The vague anxiety I felt ever since I decided to bring Sachi normality is weighing heavily on my shoulders. That's the thing, like the problem is, like because it's such a mental labyrinth for Sachi, it's really going to be a roll of the dice kind of thing. Like he's got a plan, and he's pretty confident it'll work, but even in the best case scenario, you can't actually know how someone's going to respond to stimuli. So even if it's structured in the best way possible, there's a real chance it's not going to work. I felt the same when I forced her to accept this request. It's something like guilt. I drove Sachi's back to the wall for my own selfish reasons. Got practically everyone I know mixed up in this as well. And after all that, even if I succeed, will it really make her any happier? You're gambling with someone's life here. You really alright with that? Yeah, that's the other thing is that, like, she might not be. That's the other thing. It's like, if he shatters this, it kind of will mean she's going to have to confront the feelings that drove her into this state of mind to begin with. The guilt, the shame, the fear. She's going to have to actually confront it. And while in the long term that is much better, because it could let Sachi be Sachi rather than just being a yes girl, that's going to be painful. And no one can know who she's going to end up being on the other side. For some, guilt and fear and pain can turn them into a kind of be the forge's fire that crafts them into a blade that's fine and pure. But for others, it can be the heat that shatters the foundation of what you are, breaks you down to like the barest components and leaves nothing but slag. So, yeah. You never know. It's a dice throw at best. When I close my eyes, the other side of me whispers its doubts. Look at that, I'm trembling. Still scared of the dark at my age? Almost like a curse, isn't it? The students gathered in this academy have their quirks, and I'm no exception. Right now, I'm just a piece of the defense equipment, kept alive by my country for its own purposes. I'm not gifted with perfect insight and judgment. I've never been a genius like my sister was, far from it. Am I really qualified to be messing around with her life? When I voice my worries, I feel sweat gathering unpleasantly in the palms of my hands. Still, if I let myself flinch this late in the game, my master would probably come back to life just to kick my butt into next week. That's right. No point in hesitating now. I already made my decision. I'll do everything I can, and I'll believe in Sachi. Oh boy. What are you up to?
昼間のうちに一箇所だけ窓の鍵を開けておき、そこから校舎の中に侵入。中に入ったら、そばに用意しておいたあれを校舎内に搬入する。
Mentally reviewing the plan I've polished over these last few days, I follow the procedure with exacting care, one deliberate step at a time. From what the principal told us, the achievement test will be held the day after tomorrow. However, considering the opening ceremony tomorrow and the unpredictable obstacles it will present, today is my real last chance to carry out this task. But even after all my meticulous research and thorough brainstorming, I was unable to find a possible alternative to my previous method. So she's still gonna go with fire.
でも、大丈夫。
No, it won't.
前回はうまくいったんだし、この方法自体に問題があるわけじゃない。ミスなく計画通りの手順を踏めば、きっと今回もうまくいく。だから大丈夫。大丈夫。
If you keep having to say it, not sure if you can really believe that. I repeat the words again and again, trying to convince myself they're true. Trying to distract myself from the hazy dark discomfort smoldering somewhere deep inside my chest.
これはきっと良くないもの。いい子でいるためには必要ないもの。
No, it's a good thing. Like, that's normal.
だから、余計なことは考えないようにしなきゃ。
Regaining my calm with an effort of will, I begin to spread a certain something along the darkened hallway. The instant the liquid in the thick plastic can touches the outside air, a unique smell fills my nose. I knew this stench was well even as a child, when I used to help pour new fuel into the kerosene heaters that warmed our home, and I never did come to like it. As these distracting thoughts run through my head, I empty the can and drop the rag to the floor and let the oil soak into it.
あとは、これに火を。
When I whispered those words to myself, I feel a voice whispering back somewhere deep inside my mind. My hands come to a sudden stop. And as my thoughts turn to the nature of that voice, I violently shake my head back and forth, pushing it all away. Come on, Sachi. Come on, Sachi. I crouched to the ground, determined, resigned, vaguely feeling some small part of myself give up. And I reach out to the slick rag, a lighter clenched firmly in my hand. The small seed of flame I plant at the corner of the cotton cloth blossoms quickly, spreading along the line of fuel. It transforms before my eyes into a full-scale fire. Scorching heat batters my skin. It's not an unfamiliar sensation. I'm seized with a strange feeling, almost like nostalgia. But none of that matters any longer. Since this time I deactivated the fire alarms and sprinkler systems beforehand, all I need to do is repeat this procedure a few times throughout the building. Ah, so you learned from last time. Great, cool.
これで、みちる様の依頼を達成することができる。そうすれば、ゆうくんから出された課題の答えも、きっと見つかる。
For a moment, relief blossoms in my chest, and in the next... With the sound of a dozen showers switching on at once, the sprinklers installed in the ceiling spring to life. Uh-oh. Before I can even understand the situation, an almost disproportionate torrent of cold water rains down, soaking every inch of the hallway. The flames that were growing so vigorously only seconds before shrink with astonishing swiftness.
そんな、ちゃんと確かめたはずなのに、どうして？
Just last night, I entered the pump room and turned off every last one of the disaster prevention systems installed in the building, even testing that the sprinklers would no longer activate. But all of a sudden, they're completely functional. It's simply incomprehensible. Well, it is... The thing is, like, the way these systems are genuinely work, we know Yuuji likely is involved in that, but there are usually, like, a fail-safe state. They're usually triggered chemically, and when they're triggered, there is going to be... Unless you literally siphon all the water out, there's going to be an initial downpour. Now, will the downpour continue if you switch the pumps off? No. But even then... It's not too uncommon to expect it to have at least a somewhat response, because again, it's very heat chemical based rather than like electric based. The fire's gone out. Now one thought filling my mind, I run over to the rag shelter with my body and desperately flick the switch of my lighter.
お願い、ついて。お願い。
But those cloths already soaked thoroughly with water. It refused to accept the flame. A waterlogged piece of cotton isn't going to catch fire. I understand that rationally, but I still push the switch frantically, half crazed with desperation and terror. Because it's failure. This... So you chose this method after all. When I turn the corner into the thoroughly drenched hallway, I find Sachi crouched low to the floor, her eyes wide with shock. Interesting that she came to full school uniform, not the maid outfit she finds the easiest to work in. I guess she was trying to show respect for the place in her way.
まさか、これ、ゆうくんが。
Yeah, turned the sprinklers on this afternoon, if that's what you're wondering about. Oh, interesting. I thought he was going to deny it. Well, it'd be a bit of a pain in the butt if the alarms went off, so I did leave those deactivated. Carefully shutting down the preventative systems beforehand to enable setting a large-scale fire, just the sort of plan I'd expect from you, Sachi.
でも、どうしてそれをゆうくんが、それに、どうして今ここに。
It's actually pretty simple to predict the way a competent, careful person will approach something like this. If I was going to try and setting a fire to this building, I'd have done the exact same thing. Taking out the sprinklers was a necessity, and today was the only day to do it.
じゃあ、ゆうくんは私が学校に放火しようとしていたことを。
I mean, that's the thing though, like, with your history, it was pretty clear, because you were clearly trying to think of other options, and you were not finding a solution. So you'd go to what you believed was tried and true. Yeah, I expected you'd use this method from the start. As I turn the sprinklers back on because there's something I want to tell you. Sachi's mind doesn't seem to have fully caught up with events. Her face is blank, her eyes filled with puzzlement. Most likely, she hasn't even begun to consider the possibility that someone would step in to interfere at this juncture. The situation you're dealing with here is completely different from the last one. The size and construction of the building is nothing like that little wooden schoolhouse. Plus, it's equipped with state-of-the-art firefighting systems. Disabling those beforehand was a good start, but sprinkling kerosene around like you did last time would require a lot more fuel to be really efficient, and you need a lot more time to spread it. Considering that you absolutely have to do the job alone before anyone notices, your chances of success are virtually nil. It's entirely likely you'd cause some damage here and there, but that's not going to be a huge problem. The test would just be moved to an intact classroom. This place was designed for people like us, remember? You're not going to shut it down that easily. As I lay out the truth of the situation, Sachi stares up at me with disbelief and terror in her eyes.
じゃあ、私は。
Yeah, at this rate, you're going to fail.
そんな。
The color instantly drains from Sachi's face. She slumps jerkily into the soaked wet floor like a puppet cut from its strings. Why so surprised? I'm pretty sure you knew this wouldn't work all along. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been searching for that intensely for another way. No need for all that research if your previous method was good enough. But no matter how you looked, no matter how hard you thought it over, no other solution presented itself. And unable to find a genuinely viable strategy, you had no choice but to turn to your previous method. Since there was no other way, even if the prospects looked dim, you could at least cling to the thought that it worked before, am I wrong?
そんなことありません。前はこの方法でうまくいったんですから、絶対にうまくいきます。だから大丈夫なんです。
Come on, Sachi, come on. You gotta work with us here. This isn't going to work.
だって他に方法がないなら必ず成功させるしかない。失敗することなんて考えてはいけないんです。だって私に失敗は許されない。
Aww. It's sad. Sad Sachi is the worst Sachi. Not the worst as in like she's like a bad. It's just like it's hard. It hurts to see.
私はいつもいい子でいなきゃいけない。どんな手段を使っても絶対にこの依頼を成功させなきゃダメなんです。
I've never seen this expression on her face before. Never heard her voice so thick with emotion. The sound echoes fiercely down the dark hallway. No one responds. Her anguish and desperation hang in the air for a moment, then fade into the indifferent silence, as if to symbolize her long, lonely, futile struggle. Tell me something, Sachi. Why are you so determined to do everything asked of you? Why are you so persistent with this good girl thing? Getting rid of a test is a completely unreasonable demand to make of a normal human being. The others said as much, didn't they? Even if you gave up now, they'll probably just say, yeah, I figured as much. Nobody's gonna hold it against you.
それはウー君の推測に過ぎません。
I guess the question, like, I wish we could ask her, which she wouldn't have an answer to, but I wish we could ask her, like, even if they tried to hold it against you, what would that mean? It wouldn't mean anything. People disappoint each other all the time, and it's fine. Heck, we disappoint our friends, and it's fine. They're still our friends. What?
どんなに仲のいい相手でも、相手の気持ちは相手にしかわかりません。それは血のつながった家族だって同じです。だから一度も失敗できない。何かを失いたくなければいい子でいないといけない。誰よりも勉強をして 誰よりも言うことを聞いて、誰からも好かれるような子でいなければいけないんです。
Oh my gosh. Like I said, like the vibe I have with Sachi is that the way she thinks is like it's like an extreme echo of the way I used to think. I used to have these thoughts in my head, especially that last one. That you don't want to disappoint people. You don't want people to hate you.
そうじゃないと、みんな亡くなってしまう。現に、幼い頃の私が悪い子だったせいで、私の大好きだった人はみんな、あんなに私のことを可愛がってくれていた。わがままばかり言う私に愛想を尽かして、あんなことになって。それに、ゆうくんだって、大切なものを失うのは、自分が死ぬことよりも怖い。あんなに辛い思いをするのは、もう、嫌なんです。もう、何も失いたくない。だから、私は絶対に失敗できないんです。今度失敗したら、きっとまた、みんないなくなってしまう。こんな私に、彼女になれって言ってくれたゆうくんも、みちる様も、まきちゃんも、あまねさんも、さくきさんも、学園長さんも、みんな、いなくなってしまうんです！
Sachi's feelings flow out of her in a torrent of words, her voice raising to a shout. Every sentence is filled with such bitterness that it's difficult even to listen. The pain of losing those who were precious to her, the sadness, the impotent anger, all jumbled together in an anguished wail. To me, it sounds like the voice of a child crying out for help. So then, if you become a good girl, if you succeed in this request, will you be yourself again? Will you act like a good girl should, keeping the things you love safe? What do you think, Sachi? Sachi's bared her heart to me, and in return, I offer not kindness or comforting words, but a steady gaze.
それは、もちろんです。
I see. In that case, I'll grant your wish. I'm going to help you become the person you want to be. I'll make sure you complete this task.
そんな、どうして？
I made a promise, didn't I? I want to help you be yourself.
だとしても、ゆうくんはさっき、この依頼を成功させるのは限りなく不可能に近いって。
Virtually impossible means there's a non-zero chance. And if you're not trying to do everything alone, things change pretty dramatically. As long as you really are willing to do whatever it takes, there are plenty of ways to get this done.
それは本当でしょうか？
Of course.
じゃあゆうくんには今回の依頼を成功させるための作戦があるんですね。
Yeah, I have a slightly different way of doing things, but it should be fine. The preliminary arrangements are already in place.
いつの間にそんなことを？
I assume joint responsibility for our success on this job. And when 9029 participates in a mission, failure isn't an option. This is funny, because so 9029, his designation, it didn't come up at all for Michiru, and it's, I'm guessing, a passing reference here, but it was a much more notable one in the Machina route, so it is kind of nice that I got that context. Of course, this isn't a Nichigaya job. I'm not going on a cleaning expedition. Even so, I'm still my master's pupil. Asako didn't just develop my technique to cram me full of technical knowledge. She taught me a whole way of thinking. No matter what the job entails, I'll face it with the resolve and focus I bring to the most dangerous missions.
9029.
Well, it's just a number that comes with a bit of a reputation. No matter how ugly things look, 9029 pulls through. I wonder why 9029 was selected. If the writer had a specific, resonance with that, or if it literally is just a random number they put together. Sachi gazes up at me as though I've descended from a cloud from heaven. Having proposed this strategy, I naturally know full well how things are going to play out. And when I think about what's coming, it takes a real effort not to turn away from that gaze.
ゆうくん？
No, it's nothing. shaking my head lightly to drive away the lingering touch of guilt, I settle my face into a serious expression. But since it's your perfect record is at stake here, I think you should be the one to actually carry this plan out.
はい。私にできることがあれば、何でもやらせてください。
Right. In that case, there's something I want you to do for me.
やってもらいたいこと。ここは学園長室ですよね。
Yeah. Yeah, this is where my base camp during my initial preparations. Although Chizuru may be irritated to hear me say it, I needed a room with no one was likely to drop by and visit.
ということは、ずいぶん前から準備を。
That's right. The method I came up with involved a good amount of simple spade work.
なるほどです。
Anyway, everything's more or less ready to go, but we still need the finishing touch.
仕上げ。
I'd like you to help me with that. I retrieve a sizable duralumin case from behind the desk and swing it open.
これは何でしょう。粘土みたいにぐにゃぐにゃしていますけど。
C4? Guess it's not surprising that Sachi wouldn't recognize this stuff no matter how broad her studies may be. Well, she might have heard of it, but it probably wouldn't translate into recognizing it by sight. Kinda sad that I could recognize it by sight. Like, I genuinely could. I mean, it wouldn't be a perfect knowledge, but I would have my suspicions if I saw this. I'm hoping to wrap this up before midnight, so I'm not going to explain in detail at the moment. Just think of it as clay for now, like you said.
粘土で学力テストをなくすことができるんですか?
Just don't pass a current through it, we'll be fine. Yeah, once you set some of that up in a few places, the job's done. I'll show you what needs to be done. Think you can handle it, Sachi?
はい。粘土細工は得意な方だと自負しています。お任せください。
Is she gonna leave little C4 sharks around the entire place? Your artistic talents aren't really relevant, but whatever. You're that confident should be more than enough to pull this off.
はい。
Alright, first of all, I'll explain how to install it. You see this deep hole here?
はい。それに、点々と木箱のようなものが廊下に。
Well, getting all of this ready was one part of the spade work I mentioned.
なるほどです。
Anyway, when you see a hole like this, install one of these long, thin pieces of clay inside, like so. If there's a square drawn on the wall instead, set one of these square pieces of clay on top of it. That's all I need you to do for me. Any questions?
ありません。
Excellent. I've marked the points you need to cover on these plans, so go ahead and get started. I'll be taking care of something else in the meantime.
はい、わかりました。
Still very bitter feeling. Like the music's definitely playing into this like very sad. Looks like that's about it.
はい。
Sachi can fully mask the weariness in her voice on her face. Sachi can't fully mask the weariness in her voice or her face. No doubt the result of all the pressure she's been under lately. Our final task completed. We've made up in the courtyard as arranged beforehand.
私は本当に図面通りに粘土を設置しただけなのですが、これでテストをなくすことができるのでしょうか?
Oh yeah, as long as we didn't make any mistakes, it will.
そうですか。
Apparently not fully buying my assurances, Sachi answered somewhat half-heartedly. Of course, she doesn't have the concrete details. To her, it really was nothing more than scattering some clay around the building. It'd be stranger if she wasn't a little dubious at this point. Okay, I can tell you want to see some results. Let's get moving.
はい、わかりました。ゆうくん、私たちはどこへ向かっているのでしょう?
Probably far away. Maybe up on a hill, maybe like a half mile out. Sachi tags along in silence for a good while, but eventually she's no longer able to contain her uncertainty. A place where we can overlook the school.
どうしてそんなところに?
We want to be far away. You'll understand soon. I like this. This is a good picture here. Alright, guess here we'll be fine. After about 20 minutes of walking, we reach a high place not far away. There's little cover of any sort below us. The reclaimed spit of land where our school stands lies clearly visible.
確かに学園が見渡せる景色の綺麗な場所ですけど、ゆうくんはここで何を?
I'm saying goodbye to our school life. Before I answer that question, there's something I want to confirm.
確認ですか?
Yeah. You sure you want to do this? Fulfill this request?
それはどういう意味でしょう?
My cat's meowing, sorry. I don't know what's up with him. You want to do what you're told without fail, to answer every demand without anyone meeks of you. And so you're absolutely determined to carry out even a completely unreasonable request like getting rid of a test. That's the choice you're making here, and you're sure you're not going to regret it.
後悔?
Listen to me, Sachi. This is an important question. Think it over carefully and give me an honest answer. Because remember, her whole thing was that she didn't want everyone to leave, right? But last time she burned down the building is when everyone left. And if she blows up the building, everyone's gonna have to leave because they can't have a school anymore. Dang. Ooh, this is gonna suck. Sachi falls silent, a serious expression on her face. Looks like she's already started to deliberate. I don't know what she's thinking. I don't know how she's reasoning her way through this question. But no matter how dependent she may be on others, no matter how passive or obedient her way of life, in the end her decisions are her own. If nothing else, I want to remind her of that.
ゆうくん、私はこの依頼を成功させたいです。
Alright. Say goodbye to our old life.
いい子でい続けること。それが私が私でいられるってことなんです。
I see. Then I have no choice but to make her realize. Guess that's going to cause a bit of trouble for you guys, but them's the breaks. Your luck ran out the day I transferred into your class. Like, the day I was here, this was probably inevitable in some form. Sorry, Sakaki, Amane, Mishidu, Makina. Alright then, throw the switch and you'll get what you want. With those words, I retrieve a crudely made remote control from my jacket and hand it to Sachi.
私がこのスイッチを?
Oh boy. Yep. Doesn't look like much, does it? But I guarantee you, that thing will get rid of the test. Throw that switch, and you'll stay a good girl.
わかりました。
After staring down at the small box in her hands for a long moment, Sachi shifts her gaze to our school, firm conviction in her eyes.
中華街でたくさん美味しいものを食べて。
確かにあんなに美味しい中華料理食べたのって初めてかもね。
てなわけでチルチル、私眠くなってきたからちょっと膝枕して。
They must have like headsets on because otherwise you could not just hold a casual conversation in a helicopter.
はあ？なんで私がそんなことしなきゃいけないのよ。
Well, I guess
ちょっとだけだからね。
I guess I've never been. I've never. I suppose maybe there are helicopters that are like soundproofed and like sealed. I've only been in a helicopter once, and it was freakishly loud. But maybe not all helicopters are the same.
あんがとう、ジルジル。
ジルジル言うな。
じゃあ、ジュルジュル？
それあだ名ですらないじゃない。もうただの擬音になってるし。
でも中華街で高級中華食べ放題の後はヘリで夜景鑑賞なんて。榊さんの家がお金持ちなのは知ってるけど、こんなに豪遊しちゃって大丈夫だったの？ええ、中華以外は私のお金じゃないもの。
Yep.
え？なんて？なんでもないわ。
ねえねえユミコ、あれが東京タワー、あれが噂の東京タワーなの？
We're not anywhere near Tokyo. No.
松島さん、あなたが初めての空からの夜景に興奮しているのはわかるけれど。
失礼ね。私だって空からの夜景くらい見たことあるわよ。海外だって行ったことあるし。
へえ、みちるって海外行ったことあるんだ。
まあね。でも遠い昔の話よ。
Yeah, that's a whole bag of insanity. Ugh.
でも榊さんも粋な計らいしてくれるわよね。夏休み最終日にこんな思い出作ってくれるなんて。
Oh, don't worry. We got fireworks for you too.
そう思ったのならお礼は風見くんに言っておくといいわ。ん？そこでなんでユージ？私に今日のことを提案してくれたのが。なるほどなるほど。榊さんのテレブリにはそういう裏があったわけですか。
And we're like, oh, maybe he wanted to have like a secret, like a special date with Sachi. He just didn't want us around.
それよりさ、 夜景が綺麗なのは東京の方ばっかりで、三島崎の方は
Oh wait, are
あ
they
まり
actually?
見るとこない感じじゃな
I
い？
thought they were like a good distance away from Tokyo. Like, wasn't it like a 2-hour train ride from Tokyo? That doesn't feel like that's 2-hour train ride's pretty decent distance. Like a several hundred miles on a normal train, let alone a fast train.
それはしょうがないでしょう。三島崎って割と田舎だし。
そうでもないのよ。さっきあそこがピカって光ったし。
Don't just stare at explosions. You don't know what that is.
どこどこ？
あ、
There we go. Oh my gosh. A brief flash of light. Unlike the aerial bombing, there's no brilliant burst of flame to accompany the powerful sound of the blast. Pretty plain explosion as these things go. The school building where I've spent the last 3 months of my life, and Sachi nearly a year of hers, crumbles noisily before our eyes.
あれは美浜学園ですよね。
Yep. Yeah, it was Mihama Academy, at least. We just got rid of it, along with that test.
じゃあ私がさっき設置した粘土のようなものは？
Plastic explosives. Modern Japanese architecture is world famous for its strict building codes and sturdy engineering, you know? Demolishing even a modest-sized structure requires a lot of detailed calculations, and boring into the supporting columns is a pretty involved process. Just getting the necessary amount of explosives ready was a real challenge. Anyway, with the building itself gone, the school won't be up and running anytime soon. The test isn't going to happen. In fact, I expect that's going to be the last thing on anyone's mind for a while.
確かにその通りです。
Sachi responds vaguely to my explanation, her tone absent-minded. The words seem to have left her mouth out of reflex. Her attention is clearly glued to the building below, or what's left of it anyway. There were plenty of other formalities and preparations involved as well. Considering all the time it took to set this up, it sure disappeared pretty quickly.
そうですね。
Something wrong? This is what you wanted, right?
はい。ゆうくんの言う通りです。これでテストがなくなるなら、みちる様の依頼を達成したことになる。そうなれば、私はいい子で居続けることができます。それが私の望んだもので、私はそのためだけに、今まで頑張ってきた。
I don't know about that, Sachi. I really don't think you did.
なのに、それなのに、こんなにも胸がざわざわするのは、なぜな。
Apparently unable to grasp her own emotions, Sachi continues to stare down at the rubble like that was once our school, her face blank with confusion. Can't you understand where that's coming from, huh?
はい。
Well, I guess that's not surprising. You've never felt uncertainty about doing what you're told, have you? Never felt it necessary to consider how obeying an order makes you feel?
じゃあ、私は。
Put a hand on your cheek. Sachi obediently brings a hand to her face, and her fingers brush away a small stream of tears.
あれ、私、でも、どうして。
The girl wasn't even aware she was crying. Her confusion only deepening, Sachi looks up at me with a face full of pure bewilderment. You may not be conscious of it yet, but part of you already knows the answer to that question. What was that place?
私が、去年から通っている学園です。
And?
ゆうくんがいて、皆さんがいて、今日まで本当にたくさんのことがあった場所です。
Specifically, what sort of things?
みんなでいろんな科目の授業を受けて、みんなで遊んで、屋上で流しそうめんをしたこともありました。
That was a cool scene. I like that one. Anything else come to mind?
最近はいろいろな相談に乗っていただきました。ちょっとエッチな相談に乗ってもらったり、おしゃれの相談に乗ってもらったり、ゆうくんから出された課題について相談に乗ってもらったこともありました。
You spent a lot of time there. What sort of memories are those?
とても楽しい時間だったと思います。前の学校にいた頃は考えられなかったような会話と笑顔に満ちた空間。私が転入してきたこの美浜学園は、町の人たちから刑務所と比喩されるような場所とは
Aw.
正反対のところだったんです。
That's really sweet, actually.
外では厄介者扱いされるような私のことを、この学園は受け入れてくれました。
Oh, that's a cool line. When the outside world had come to see me as a problem to be solved, the school accepted me.
みちる様は私のことを必要としてくれました。まきちゃんは私のことを一番の友達だと言ってくれました。あまねさんは私にたくさんのことを教えてくれました。榊さんは一歩引いたところから
The words begin to flow smoothly, naturally. Sachi no longer needs my questions to guide her as she begins to understand the meaning of her tears and her honest feelings come pouring out of her mouth.
私が大好きだったあの家のように暖かい場所。それが私にとっての美浜学園です。
That a fact?
はい。あの学園は私にとってきっとそれだけ特別な場所だったんです。
It's like, it's such a bitter lesson that he's kind of showing her, which is that she was selfish and she feels that her choices inadvertently led to her parents' deaths. And she blamed herself for it. And so she decided she was just always going to follow orders and make sure she's a good girl. But now those restrictions have led her to destroy something just as precious. Thankfully no one died. But essentially, it's destroyed something just as precious for her by following the new rules. It's the great fallacy of her new structure. And he's, unfortunately, kind of had to shove it right in her face. Right. And you just destroyed that special place with your own hands. Yeah. Since your 10th birthday, you've been clinging persistently to a single idea, telling yourself that it's the only one and only answer. Do what you're told, be a good girl, never disobey. And you stubbornly adhere to that simplistic rule brought you to this moment. Aww. That's so sad.
どうして私いい子でい続けたのに、あんなに頑張ったのに、どうしてこんなことになるの？
Because you did what you were told.
いい子でい続けることで大切なものを失うなら、私は今まで何のために。
Oh, fetch me. That right there. That's it. That's the point. But my gosh. It's like, could you imagine? You poured so many years, dedicated so much energy to being exactly what you think you need to be. And then to realize, what was the point? Why did I push so hard? What was the reason? Fetch. Holy crap.
こんなの違う。絶対に違う。私が望んでいたのはこんなんじゃない。こんなんじゃないのに。
Remember what you said to me just a few minutes ago? You told me that being a good girl is what allowed you to be yourself. That it's the only way to ensure your happiness.
はい。
Sorry, but you were wrong. That's not how this works. Sure, an intelligent, pathologically helpful honor student will probably make plenty of friends anywhere they go. You're so useful to have around, most people probably treated you nicely enough for their own convenience. And when they realized what you were carrying, when you were no longer of any use to them, I guess they abandoned you quickly enough. That sort always will. But how about the people in this school? You think they're the same way?
それは。
Do you really believe Michiru and Makina think of you as nothing but their personal lackey? Do you really believe they'd abandon a friend for failing to carry out a single order?
思いません。
That's right. You've been so afraid of losing something that you couldn't even see what you had. You've been going through life curled up in a shell, both eyes squeezed shut. In exchange for your brittle happiness. You've lost sight of what's around you, and you lost something you didn't even know you had. That's what I wanted you to realize.
大切なものを守ろうとして何かを失う。
Exactly. It reminds me really heavily of there's a really interesting, it happens in everything, but I saw it so heavily growing up in school. I like to write. It's a passion of mine. And in school, I wrote a lot. And one of the things I started a little club with some friends where we want to encourage other people who enjoyed writing. We want to kind of be there, kind of share resources, offer up suggestions and critique, constructive criticism. And there were a lot of people who jumped into the club. And one of the things I saw that was really consistent was an abject terror of sharing their projects. And I get it. When you make something artistically, it's a baby, it's a passion, it's a love. You love it because it's a piece of you. You pour yourself into it. And I think that happens in any artistic expression. You pour a bit of yourself into it. And even when it's not amazing, when it's starting out, because everyone sucks when they start, to have it get seen is embarrassing and scary. To have it be rejected or dismissed is horrifying and gut-wrenching. And so that fear... Stop playing with the garbage can. Go away. I think he's looking for food. Sorry. It's hard to focus when the cat's making a mess. Anyway. When you're faced with that, the horror of realizing that something that you love that means so much to you could be completely just tossed in the garbage, dismissed, and ignored. You don't want that. And so these people who desperately wanted to write, who even joined a club about writing, were terrified to share their content with us, to let us look at it, to let us give criticism and constructive thought and breakdown, because they were terrified of facing that reality, because it would shatter the bubble of joy that it brought them, not realizing how fragile that joy was and how much more joy could be gained by simply accepting criticism and using it to strengthen yourself and to become even better. Now, obviously, this is a much extreme form of it, but I think that that's something to really think about, is that what's holding you back? What's limiting you? What's the fear that prevents you from truly experiencing and expressing something, of realizing? And do you really think that by being true to yourself and sharing the things that you're passionate about and care about, do you really think that those ones around you whom you care about, your family, your friends, your loved ones, are going to just throw you away, toss you aside? Anyone who would isn't worth it. And I really doubt that majority of them would. I've even found through making this channel, one of the coolest parts has been, despite the fact that it's not making any money really, and it's not growing in these crazy explosive ways, is how much support I've been getting from my loved ones. Because they see how much joy it brings me, and how much this community means to me. And so they're so supportive, even if it can be disruptive, even if it seems distracting, even if it seems overbearing sometimes. When people love you, they love you. And usually, for the ones that matter, it's not really conditional. Now, granted, you can toss it aside. You can do irreparable damage to a relationship. But 9 times out of 10, you're never going to do that. But that's the thing, Sachi might have actually just done that. I don't think it'll destroy their friendships, but it might rip them apart. And I don't know if there's any way we can get back from that. Yeah. You know, human beings may be the smartest animals currently struggling around on the earth, but that doesn't mean that we're the wisest. No matter how much we learn or how advanced our civilization becomes, we're still completely idiots about the simplest things. When it comes right down to it, we don't realize how precious anything is until we lost it. They might be giving you a pretty pompous lecture right now, but I'm no exception to that rule myself.
じゃあ、ゆうくんにも。
Yeah. There was a reason I couldn't promise to play with you on your birthday. My sister died in an accident. And with her gone, my family crumbled in on itself like a house of cards. I'm the only one that got through it alive.
私、ゆうくんにそんなことがあったなんて。
Of course you didn't. I never told you.
じゃあ、もしかしてゆうくんは、そのことを私に教えようとして。
Not entirely. I also wanted to learn something about you.
私のことを。
Yeah. There was a time when you could have, where you could have asked me. There was a time when you could have asked me for anything, and all you requested was my praise. That's the one thing I've never really understood. But after hearing your feelings just now, I think I finally found my answer. I turned Sachi toward me and softly rested my head on her hands. My hand on her head. It's been a long and lonely road, hasn't it? You did good, Sachi. You really did. Speaking in the gentlest tone of voice I can manage, I affectionately ruffle Sachi's hair. Her eyes open wide as saucers, and in that next moment, fat tears are running down her face. Gotta let it all out, Sachi.
私
You can't let it be buried anymore. You've gotta let it. You were waiting to hear those words, weren't you? Utterly lost, overwhelmed by pain, sadness, and confusion, waiting for someone to show her the way forward. Waiting for someone to see the crushing guilt she carried and to know the punishment she levied on herself every moment of every day. And to tell her, you've done enough.
そうなのかもしれません。私、ずっと怖かったんです。テストでいい点を取って、お手伝いもして。そんな私をお父さんとお母さんは、偉いねって褒めてくれました。
She took the ideals of a child and personified them into a lifestyle. And that never could have worked. It never could have worked. Childhood's too simplistic. It's too black and white.
それなのに、急にお父さんとお母さんが冷たくなって、大好きだったあの家に、機械の音ばかりが響くようになって。
Give her a freaking hug!
最後には、あんなことになって。それは、私がわがままだったのがいけなかったんだ。もっといい子でいなければいけなかったんだって。だから、もう一度も失敗できない。いい子でい続けなきゃって。
I see. Then I suppose I'm the only one who can tell you this now. You don't have to be a good girl anymore. I understand your feelings. I understand how hard you've tried. You've done more than enough. You can rest now.
それは、本当でしょうか?
Yeah.
本当に、私はもう、いい子でいなくてもいい。
Yeah, it's true. Her 10th birthday, a day that should have been full of happy memories, ended in unimaginable tragedy. Ever since, Sachi's lived a half-life, bound tightly by the irrational guilt of a child, until this moment. The good girl she never truly was, the role she forced herself to play all this time, evaporates with her tears into the warm night. All this time, she suffered quietly, locking her constant fear and pain somewhere out of sight. Nobody can erase those years, or the mark they've left on her. And nobody can undo the accident that ruined her life. There's the one and only thing I can do for Sachi right now. Hold her shaking body in my arms until her tears run dry. Screw it.
すみません。もう大丈夫です。
Right. When she cried her fill, Sachi firmly wipes her cheeks dry and raises her head from the resting place against my chest.
お見苦しいところをお見せしてしまってすみませんでした。
Nothing to worry about. The girl's tear-stained face is a special privilege reserved for her boyfriend.
じゃあ私の涙は
Okay, wait.
のご褒美に
Hold on. Did just blow up a school for you, remember? I don't think it's too much to ask.
そういえば私たち美浜学園を壊してしまったんですよ。あまりにもびっくりしすぎてなんだかあまり実感がありませんけど。
It feels like we're at the end. Like, I'm terrified this is actually the end. Yeah, we did. Probably gonna cause Sakaki and company a lot of trouble. Not to mention everyone who works there.
あ、そういえば皆さんは寮は大丈夫なのでしょうか？
As she finally realizes the potential for collateral damage involved in this little show, the color drains from Sachi's face. Don't worry about them. They're in a safe place.
それならよかったです。
An expression of pure relief spreading across her face, Sachi brings her hand to her chest as if to slow the frantic beating of her heart. It's a simple, earnest gesture, one that speaks volumes about her feelings toward our classmates.
ですが、皆さんに迷惑をかけたことに変わりがないとすると、ここは二人で腹を切ってお詫びするべきでしょうか？
No. That would kind of make this whole thing pointless, don't you think?
そういえばそうですね。
It feels like it's been an awfully long time since I've had one of these distinctive pure Sachi moments. That brings me a slight sense of relief. Somehow it makes me feel like this all wasn't a waste of effort on my part. Well, I can't exactly go put the school back together again, but like I told you before, I spent some time on the planning phase here, and a big part of that was figuring out how to keep the damage and fuss to a minimum.
そういえば、あんなに大きな爆発があったのに、あまり大きな騒ぎになっていないみたいです。
Yeah, I guess we've got to thank Chizuru and JB for that one.
ということは、春寺さんや学園長さんはこうなることを知っていたんですか？
When we entered the principal's office, didn't you notice that most of the books and documents were missing?
はい、全然気づきませんでした。
Well, guess you had the other things to worry about at the time, but in any case, yeah, I got myself in some pretty serious debt to make this happen. It's like, I'm gonna be having to pay some money and doing jobs.
それはどれくらいの借りなんでしょう？
Let's see. Even if it worked the rest of my life for free, I doubt I'd be able to pay back this one back. Handle this sort of thing wrong, and there's a possibility I end up getting disposed of through the accidental death.
そんな、自分がそんなことになるかもしれないのに、ゆうくんはあれだけのことを？
From what I'd seen, this was the only way I'd get through to you. You needed to fail through success. If all I wanted was to get rid of the test, I simply could have asked Chizuru.
私にはその選択肢すら浮かびません
Well,
で
it's because
し
she would have said no. Exactly the reason I had to blow up the school instead. Sachi draws a sharp little breath and looks away, a tinge of sadness and guilt in her eyes. You know, Sachi,
はい、
a little while ago I said you were wrong to think being a good girl would protect your happiness. But to be honest, I can't say your way of thinking was entirely mistaken. As a kid, you struggled desperately to find that answer. It got you back on your feet. You fought hard all this time, living by that belief, and eventually you found people who understand you and cared about you. You found what you were looking for. That's not a way of life you needed to be ashamed of. But there's one important thing to keep in mind. You can't allow yourself to lose sight of what you're trying to protect.
私が
Oh, no.
守ろうと思ったもの。
Darn it, cat. I feel like he's always more active during these Grisaia playthroughs for some reason. Yeah. No one's asking you to change who you are. You're probably going to keep on being a pretty good kid, and that means people are going to keep asking you for favors. And that's fine. All you need to do is think over every request individually. Think about what they're asking you, and why. Think about whether it's reasonable. Think about the consequences of saying yes, and then accept or decline. I know you're capable of making those decisions for yourself, Sachi. But if your confidence ever wavers, come to me. We'll talk it over together. I'll rack my brains with you until you make up your mind one way or the other.
ゆうくん
There's not much else I can do, but I'll always be there to listen. What a bro. What a freaking champion.
今の言葉を聞いて私やっとわかりました。
Understand?
はい、ゆうくんが私に出したもう一つの課題。
Yes!
私が海でゆうくんの袖を引っ張ったのはどうしてなのか。
Come to think of it, I did ask something like that.
はい。でも私にはその答えがわからなくて、結局皆さんに相談に乗っていただくことになりました。
I see. So I guess that would explain the regular meeting Sakaki mentioned the other day.
そして皆さんが言うにはその課題の答えはとても簡単で、私がゆうくんのことを好きになったから。
Huh.
その答えは当たっていたでしょうか。
Why ask me? Probably faster to ask your heart or hormones if you're feeling pragmatic.
確かにそうかもしれません。私は皆さんが考えたようにもうずっと前からたった一つの気持ちに動かされていたんです。
Aww. What makes you think that?
ついさっきまでは全然そんなことなかった。でも今はこうして隣にいるだけでドキドキしてしまいますから。
Blushing an unusually vivid shade of red, Sachi smiles up at me. Among all the expressions I've seen on her face these past few months, I think this might just be the single most natural and the happiest. I see.
だから改めて言わせてください。
Pausing briefly, Sachi closes her eyes and takes a deep breath.
私、小峰幸は
Aww.
ゆうくんのことが大好きです。
Aww.
ですからもしよければゆうくんの
That's really sweet, actually.
あなたの彼女でいさせてください。
like confessions always come across kind of heavy-handed in a lot of like stories and stuff, but that one just I can't help it. It's too wholesome. She speaks her feelings plainly and directly, the smile never leaving her face. It's almost like I'm looking in a memory of Sachi I knew as a child. There's a slightly enjoyable tickle of embarrassment in my chest. Well, seems I managed to win the girl over somehow, but this one gives as good as she gets. I came up with a lot of pretty decent justifications for trying to help her. Repaying the kindness she showed me as a child, discovering the meaning of my master's words, etc., etc. But to be honest, it's a lot less complicated than that. I've become slowly but surely falling in love with Sachi for a while now. You want the girl you love to be smiling. When something's making her suffer, you want to get rid of it. That's really all there was to it.
ゆうくん黙っていられると私とても不安になってしまうのですが。
But your anxious face isn't half bad either.
やっぱりゆうくんは意地悪です。
Don't get sulky. You're going to have to put up with this sort of thing on a regular basis from now on.
それって
Of course. If my pompicity's finally set off some warning bells, you can withdraw your candidacy before it's too late.
いえ、こちらこそよろしくお願いします。
Breaking into an ear-to-ear grin, she throws herself forward against my chest. Something about the pleasant warmth of her body brings the vague feeling I've been carrying all of this time into sharp focus.
私はバカですね。ゆうくんが私を彼女にすると言ってくれたこと、私の代わりにみんなのお願いを聞いてくれたこと、そして今まで私に送ってくれたたくさんの言葉たち、その意味がやっと分かった気がします。
I don't see the problem. This isn't a race. How long it took you to see what you were missing isn't important. What really matters is how clearly you understand where you went wrong and how well you make use of that knowledge from now on.
なんだか素敵な言葉です。
Can't take the credit. I'm quoting someone who helped me find my own way in life a while ago now.
つまりゆうくんにとってのゆうくんということですね。
Sure. The hell's that supposed to mean?
ゆうくんは今も昔も私に道を示してくれましたから。
Nice to hear. I'll have to take Sachi's word for it, though. I really don't remember doing that much for her. But even if I'm not half the person my master was, I left a mark on Sachi's heart back then. And maybe, in helping her now, I've managed to pay off some small part of the debt of gratitude I owe Osako.
それに、ゆうくんはいい子でいることも悪くないって言ってくれましたけど、私はもう今までのようないい子でいられないかもしれません。
Sorry, what does that mean?
ゆうくんが言っていた、私が私でいられる。
What, she turned into a super villain?
それはきっと、昔のようにわがままだった自分と、いい子でいようとする今の自分。その二つを含めた私が、本当の私だってことなんですよね。
That's right. I see. Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
はい。だから、今の私は、とてもわがままが言いたい気分です。
Selfish?
私に、大切なことを教えてくれたゆうくんへの感謝の気持ち。
Oh boy.
そして、そんなゆうくんのことが大好きだという気持ちを伝えたいんです。
Okay, I understand. We're gonna be cutting away, aren't we? The words are barely out of Sachi's mouth before she brings her face to mine. Aww. Just like that, she softly kisses me. For the first time, I feel the warmth of her lips against mine. That's crazy, like the stuff that they've done, and this is the first time they've kissed. That's crazy. A long, gentle kiss as if to affirm our mutual feelings. As I savor the simple pleasure, I wrap my arms firmly around Sachi, pulling the weight of her body against me. For a long moment, Sachi closes her eyes and focuses entirely on the movements of her lips. When she finally pulls back her draw breath, her mouth leaves mine with palpable reluctance.
大好きです。ゆうくん、今も昔も。そして、これからも。
Yeah, same to you, kid. What is that Han Solo-esque response?
気持ちを伝えた相手が自分と同じ気持ちでいてくれるのは
That a fact?
今ならゆうくんがどうしてキスをしようとしなかったのか最後までエッチをしてくれなかったのかその理由もわかる気がしますから
Oh, let's hear it then.
私が今感じているこの気持ちが大事だったんですね
Nice work, as always.
ありがとうございます
With an amused smile and words of thanks, Sachi offers me a polite little bow. I've heard the same many times before, but now that I fully understand just how much I care about the girl, the sincere gratitude in her voice inspires a wave of happiness that takes me by surprise in its intensity.
だからこの気持ちをこれからも言葉にさせてください今まで伝えられなかった分も全部
You sure do ask a lot, don't you?
覚悟してくださいね私は初恋もゆうくんなんですから
Yeah, I'll strengthen my resolve. So Sachi can smile like that after all. Another small jolt of elation runs through my body, and this time I'm the one who moves my lips to hers. It's a bolder kiss than our first. I'm nearly shoving my mouth against Sachi's, forcefully expressing my affection and desire. I really wonder if we are gonna pull away from here. In a momentary pause, I take a survey of the situation. Sachi squeezed her eyes shut bashfully. A blush on her cheeks has gradually taken a more vivid shade of red. And as she opens her mouth to catch her breath, I instantly slip my... There we go. Startled, Sachi tries to pull her face back, but I squeeze her tightly against me and cut off her escape. But soon enough, she understands what I'm trying to do, and I feel the tension drain slowly out of her body. God, these sounds. YouTube's gonna hate it. As Sachi's resistance weakens, my tongue begins to move smoothly, filling the air with suggestive wet little sounds. The helicopter's gonna swoop down. Our tongues intertwining, breaking apart, then find each other again. It's funny, because it's like... It sounds so weird when you read it, doesn't it? Stopping to breathe would be a waste of time right now. Thoroughly exploring her mouth feels like the most important thing in the world. Gradually, Sachi begins to respond more and more assertively. No longer content with just parrying my attack, she aggressively tries to twine her tongue around mine. That's so weird. Out of respect for her admirable efforts, I push my tongue forward with doubled intensity. Unlike our gentle first kiss, there's an element of erotic pleasure to this. The physicality of it seems to have tripped some switch on my unconscious mind, and I can feel the excitement beginning to build up inside me. When I finally drop back, Sachi gasps noisily, shoulders heaving as she gulps the warmth night air. Guess she was holding her breath ever since I took that herself. So, thoughts of your first French kiss?
はい。とても激しかったです。途中で頭が真っ白になってしまいました。
Pretty honest.
ゆうくんには本当の私を好きになってもらいたいですから。
Cheeky brat. In dubious effective effort to disguise my happiness, I squeeze Sachi tightly with both arms.
不思議です。こうして抱きしめられるのは少し苦しいくらいなのに。
Same goes for me.
じゃあまた一緒ですね。
Loosening my grip around Sachi's waist, I bring my right hand up toward her chest. Heads up, going for your breast now.
はい。私の唇も胸も全部ゆうくんのものですから。
I'm thinking we're gonna be cutting away soon. Every once in a while, this girl really does give you a little jolt of surprise. I'll take you up on that. I bring my hand forward to Sachi's right breast and slowly but firmly begin to massage her through the clothes. Being loved by someone and loving them in return. A basic human experience. Normal, healthy emotions, uncomplicated happiness. The sort of thing I thought I'd lost forever a long time ago. But it seems the life I've led wasn't enough to permanently erase the part of me. I finally found it again. Savoring the pleasure of our simultaneous physical and emotional connection, we lie there for some time, enjoying the warmth of each other's bodies. Hey, the dormitory. It still exists. Alright. We are going to end here. What a long episode. Oof. I might have just started sprinting myself to the finale here, but looks like we're not done yet, so that's good. Very, very sweet. That was a very, even the, the physical stuff, the stuff I had to cut for YouTube's sake. Fantastically done, I think. Especially because, again, it's not like it was... I feel like the other instances in Sachi's route were very... like, it was kind of meant to feel a bit off, again, because it was part of the story, but at the same time, it also felt like it was still trying to check boxes, so it's kind of like, not so great on it. But that one was fantastic. It was really emphasizing the relationship, it was emphasizing the way they felt about each other, and about just kind of the culmination of that. And I love it when they do it like that, and it was very well done and written. It's still pretty intense, but not like I wouldn't call it a bad way. Very, very good. And I'm very excited to see where we go from here. I'm not sure what to expect, though. I imagine we're going to see some pretty significant fallout from all this, but it really feels like we're like at the end, right? Like, are we like, is this another thing where I'm ending this, this episode like 5 minutes from the finale? I don't know if we're quite at that point, but it feels like we might be. So I don't know. Let me know. But regardless of how things play out, we might have just one episode left. We might have more. I'm not sure what to expect. No spoilers, obviously, but I just don't know. I'm not sure. But regardless of that, it was very well done, very intense, very passionate, very emotional for this whole episode. Really, really good. And despite it being a freaking long one, I'm very happy with the results. So hopefully you enjoyed yourselves, and hopefully it's something that you are happy to see that we got to this point. So whatever is in the future for us, whatever is the next part of the Sachi story, I'm very excited to see where we go from here. Thank you so much for being a part of the journey. Thank you for being a part of the channel and for just being able to share this experience with me. It's very, very fun. Stop. The cat is pawing at me. I think he's hungry. I'm not done yet. Give me a second. I really do appreciate it, though. Thank you for your patience as well. And I know this is while it's been a long episode, it's also a bit scuffed. I've had some weird stuff. I kept hearing weird noises behind me. The cat's been causing chaos, as you might expect. You know, it's just life. That's how it is. I appreciate you being here. Thank you especially to the patrons and members. Your support directly really helps. It gives me goals to shoot for. Let's have art, but ultimately it's just kind of like the seed that I hope will become a blossom into something far greater, far bigger. If we can let our community grow, and as I continue to get better at making content, I hope that we can slowly but surely see the fruit of our labors. So thank you for your support. and hopefully we all can have just a great rest of our weekend. So thank you for everything you do, and until next video watching me, if you see me in next, I'll see you there.